On today's show, we're going to be checking out an LED light called the FlaconEyes. It's kind of cool. It's pretty interesting. Let's see what it's like. Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live 3 times a week show here at youtube.com/PhotoJoseph every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. At least that's the plan, unless I'm traveling, you know how it goes. And hey, you know, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. You get the drill by now. So listen, we are looking at today a light. We've been doing a lot of lights lately. It's one of those things, companies keep going, hey, will you check out my light? And I go, sure, why not? The audience loves light, and you can never really have too many LEDs at the end of the day, now can you? So we are looking at yet another LED panel. This one is from a company called FlaconEyes, like FlaconEyes. It comes in a nice little portable carrying case like so. And the nice thing about this light, the interesting thing about this light, is it is one of these solid surface, I have no idea what this is called. You don't see at least a bunch of little panels. I haven't taken it apart. For all I know, there could be just a bunch of little LED lights behind it. But as you'll see, once we fire it up, instead of having 100 little points of light, we have one solid surface, which can be quite nice. If you want to get it really close to something, your reflection off of that, if it's going to be a reflective surface or even a catch light in the eye, is not going to be a series of little dots. It's going to be one big round surface. And I like the fact that it's round. Right? Round is a very nice catch light if it's in someone's eye instead of a square on there. Obviously, you know, it's kind of a bit of a personal preference, but I kind of like the round. I think it's kind of cool. So this thing comes basically just as you see it here. It's got a hinging, rotating hinging stand thing on it. This can go onto any standard light stand. Obviously that locks into place, and it comes with a power mains adapter. It does not come with a battery. However, it does work with the battery. So I got my standard Sony battery type in here, and it actually, this plate can be replaced, so you can put a different type of battery plate on there if you wanted to. So that in place, let's turn this on and see what it can do, because it does have a couple of nice features to it. There's a switch on the back here to switch between the mains, power, or batteries. Obviously, I'm going to switch over to battery right now. Look, it's a light. Here's what's kind of cool about it. So this has, check this out, color temperature control. So it's color temperature and of course dimmable, and this is a touch interface here, so I can take that down, dim it in single percentage points, and you know how accurate that actually is from point to point remains to be seen, but it is dimmable like so, and color temperature tunable. So we are all the way up now at 5600. We can bring this down to 3000. So if we go back to the main view, you can see now the light is clean. Let's make it a little bit dimmer so it's not blowing out the sensor quite so much. There we go, dimmer light, and then let's change the tuning, the color on that, so you can definitely see the color shifting on there. There's 5600 and bringing it down to 3000. It looks like it does a bit of jumping, honestly. So what I'm guessing here, it might just be the speed of it. As I go slower, it doesn't seem to jump as much. I'm just looking at the kind of glow on the table here. There's 3000. What I'm trying to see, yeah, see there, that's interesting. As I go from like 3500 up, it does tend to be a bit of a jump. So there probably are panels of lights behind here in different colors that are turning on and off. It's without taking it completely apart, which I'm not really too keen to do because, you know, electronics, we don't really know, but I would say you're probably not going to be changing the color temperature during a shot and expecting that to be smooth. But, you know, at the end of the day, what matters is you get it to the temperature that you want and turn it on and get the brightness up. Okay, so speaking of brightness, this is going to be the big test. We're going to see just how bright this thing is, because obviously if I shine it like this at you, you go, ooh, it's bright, and yeah, we don't really know. So what I have set up behind me is some different lights, a camera set up to a specific exposure, and we're going to compare and see how much light you get out of this versus some other lights. And here's the lights we're going to compare it to. I'm going to start by showing you this particular light and the price of it. So this is actually pretty inexpensive. It's $189 on Amazon. This is the FlaconEyes. This is the model 28, so it's the SO-282D, or TD, sorry, light. So that is, yeah, SO28TD, there you go. $189, so, you know, pretty reasonable pricing for an LED light. We're going to take a look at this next to this Genaray light, which is roughly the same size, a little bit bigger. It's $250, so a bit more expensive, not quite double what we're getting close to that. And then we're also going to compare it up to one of my favorite lights, the Aputure Amaran Tri-8S, which we have looked at on the show before, is now double the price of the one before it at $488, but we'll talk about why that one is so much more expensive and what makes it worth it momentarily. But for now, we're focusing on this light, the FlaconEyes, and we're going to compare it to the other lights. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got, you can see back here this setup, I have a camera set up on a tripod. I've got two, well, it's about to be 3 lights pointing at a white background. I have set the exposure, or I will set the exposure to start, so that the white registers as gray. We're going to look at the histogram. You're going to see it register as middle gray. Just pretend it's a gray card. Doesn't matter. White background, register it as middle gray with this light. And then I'm going to go through the other 2 lights. The Genaray is the next step up in brightness. And then we're going to go to the Amaran, and we're going to see what the differences are in the light values there, in the light output, if you will. So let's do that. I need to turn off the backlight that is currently spilling onto the back. There we go. That one's now off. So let's see if I can do this and juggle all these things at once. Here we go. Let's go. So here we go. We got this light in place. Now these lights are on light stands. They're right next to each other. This isn't a perfect, alignment. It's not like, this is not a flawless test, let's just say. We're not doing a perfect test here, but it's good enough. All right, it's good enough. So let me turn this light on, get that one on there. And if we look through the camera, you will see, looking through the camera, that we are, if you look at the histogram in the lower left corner, you can see that it is middle point. I'm going to adjust the ISO. So you see my aperture's at f4, my shutter speed, we're setting at 500th of a second, so aperture at f4, shutter speed at 500th. And my ISO right now is at 2500. That is giving me a perfect middle gray. So you can see the histogram as I go a little bit higher, it goes to yellow. We get it right in the middle there, it goes to white. Go back down there, it goes to yellow. So we're seeing that change in there. 2500 is where we want to be. And just for easy math, just remember that it's really close to 3200. That's going to make the math a little bit easier to think about here as we go through the different settings. Okay, so back to looking through the camera. Again, we are looking at this light. The brightness was not up all the way. Let me bring the brightness back up to 100%. There we go, and it's at full white, so 5600 degrees Kelvin, full white. And again, my ISO, actually it's closer to 2000 now at full brightness. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off that light. Let's turn this new FlaconEyes light off. I'm going to go to the Genaray one next, and Genaray one is going to be at maximum brightness. Now this is the $188 light. This one is also round. You can see that. You got that round LED shape on there, and this is also dimmable. This light cannot be battery operated, however. This is only operated by the mains. It does come with or not come with a remote, but it has the ability to plug in a remote, so you can do a physical remote control, not an electronic remote, which can certainly be handy. And these are actually the lights that I've been using in the studio. However, I'm having issues with them, so we'll talk about that in a moment. So this light is up here. So now let's look back through the camera again. And now we're going to take the exposure, we're going to take the ISO down until that balances out. And you can see we get this all the way down to 200 ISO. So that is nearly a 3-stop difference. That's a pretty big difference. There's 3 stops in difference. Remember, light doubles with each stop, so that is double. Doubled again is 4. Doubled again is 8. So it's an 8th, give or take. Yeah, it's close enough. Maybe even 7, 8, give or take. But it is nearly 8 times as bright. That's a huge difference in brightness for, yes, a more expensive light, but not a massively more expensive light. So just that's something really important to keep in mind on this. So you do have the gain of the battery powered capability. You have the gain of the color temperature controllable, right? We can change the color temperature on the FlaconEyes. We can't do that on the Genaray. The FlaconEyes operates on battery, so you have that benefit, but it is quite a bit lower light output. So big thing to consider there. Next, we're going to switch over to the Amaran light. So let's turn this one off, turn this guy on here, and make sure we're at full brightness there. And if I bring up the camera, we're going to see the exposure actually hasn't changed. So this is really interesting. The Amaran is actually not any brighter than the Genaray. So then you're going to start to say, okay, well, hold on a second. Why is the Amaran so much more expensive? I can give you some pretty good reasons why. So that Genaray light, really bright. The light quality appears to be fine. I haven't had any issues with it, but I am using it mostly for background lighting and stuff like that. But reliability, not so much. So I have 4 of those lights that I bought on sale at B&H a couple of years, probably a year and a half or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. Anyway, one of them is dead, completely dead. It started where it's actually, here, this is the panel right here. It started where a block of these, like a whole pie-shaped segment of them, just started turning off. And you may have actually seen this on the show before. If you have ever noticed while watching the show over the last couple of months, the background suddenly just getting slightly darker, slightly brighter, slightly darker, slightly brighter. That was this dying. And then I came back from my last trip and I turned it on and it was flashing like a flash pulse. Poof, 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 completely dead. Obviously out of warranty, you know, standard 1-year warranty on something like this. So this is now $288 completely down the drain. That sucks. So as much as I was bullish on these lights, I liked them. Over time, we now have 1 dead one. So 1 out of 4 is completely useless and dead. So for my money, I would rather spend money on something that's going to last. And while, to be fair, I have not had the Aputure light for any good long period of time, they do have a reputation of not only being very good lights, but also having excellent customer service and taking care of lights that do go bad, taking care of customers with lights that go bad. That Amaran light, by the way, it has 2 battery packs on it, extremely robust. The thing is built like a tank. So that is a light that, yes, is more expensive for the given light output, but a much better quality product from a much higher reputable, more reputable company. So there you go. So there's your differences there. So that FlaconEyes LED, not terribly bright, but you do have the color temperature tunable ability and you have the battery on it. So I would say if you're looking for a close-up light, if you're doing, you know, YouTube kind of interviews, if you're doing something like this show, but the camera's up really close and you want to have 1 light here, just maybe even 2 of them up close, you don't need to add a softbox to it because it has its own natural softening panel to it, which I think is very, very nice. You do have the color temperature tunability, so that's kind of cool. You can get a little bit of you know, tweak the temperature a little bit there to make your scene a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler. And you have the dimmable, right? Nice electronic dimmable control in there. And the fact that it can be battery operated, even though it doesn't come with the battery, the Sony batteries are pretty cheap, is quite nice as well. The Genaray, great light output for the value, for the cost, but as we're seeing, not the most reliable. I've had issues with 1 out of 4 of mine, so that's not cool. And then, of course, the Amaran on the top end of the spectrum there from Aputure, a very high quality light with a company with a very good reputation behind it, but as always, you get what you pay for. So there you go. There's my roundup on those lights. I hope that was interesting and helpful and informational for you. If you decide to buy any of those lights, I would definitely appreciate it. If you scroll down below and use one of the links down there, those are my affiliate links. It's always nice to get the support for the show that way. Another way you can support the show, as you probably know, but in case you don't, if you go to PhotoJoseph.com, you can become a member of the website, and I'm continuously adding more benefits to membership. And the latest benefit of membership is access to a private Facebook group where we have, it's quite a small group and quite an intimate group in there, where I am much more likely to respond directly. When I was in New York, someone was having trouble with their GH5, I was able to get in there and help them out with that and get them sorted, get their settings right. So that's kind of cool to be able to do that in real time while I'm walking down the streets in Manhattan. And it's also a place where I will be going live on random little moments just to, you know, pop in, answer any questions that might come up. So it's one of those things, if you like that idea of that kind of exclusive access, a little private chat group that you might get your questions answered more quickly, then consider joining it. That's just one of the many benefits of membership. So PhotoJoseph.com/member to learn all about that. With that, we are going to jump into the Q&A portion of the show. If you've got any questions and you're watching live, pop them into the chat room right now. Make sure you put @PhotoJoseph in front of them. And for the Q&A, we'll be right back.